When my boss called me into his glass-walled corner office and sneered, "You're just legacy, Maya, outdated and replaceable," the whole floor laughed. They thought because I didn't boast on LinkedIn or speak in buzzwords, I was powerless. They didn't realize that legacy wasn't an insult. It was a security clearance. They saw a quiet girl in her late 20s holding a coffee. They didn't see the person who built the foundation of their entire digital infrastructure. 2 hours after they handed me a severance package and escorted me out, the board realized their mistake. But by then, it was too late. I didn't hack them. I didn't destroy a single file. I simply pressed one button and activated the company's safe mode protocol. If you've ever been underestimated by corporate bullies, comment your city below so I can see how far this story reaches. Here is how I brought a billion-dollar company to its knees. My name is Maya. I'm 27 years old, and for 5 long years, I was the lead systems architect at Apex Prime Financial. While the flashy young executives spent their days drinking artisan coffee and pitching buzzword-heavy slideshows to investors, I sat quietly in the server room, maintaining the core back-end infrastructure that kept our multi-billion-dollar trading platform alive. To the new management, I was invisible. Or worse, a burden. It all peaked on a rainy Tuesday when Julian, our newly appointed executive vice president, called me into the glass-walled main boardroom. Julian was 32, wore tailored suits, and treated technical staff like disposable tools. As I walked in, I didn't see a routine system review. I saw our HR director sitting beside him, with a thick manila folder. "Sit down, Maya," Julian said, not even looking up from his tablet. "We're streamlining operations. Your department is being restructured." He slid a pre-printed severance package across the mahogany table. It was insulting, barely 2 weeks' pay. "Julian, I built the entire fault-tolerant database architecture," I said, keeping my voice steady. "If you touch the primary access keys without proper offboarding," he cut me off with a patronizing chuckle. "Please. You're just legacy, Maya, outdated and replaceable. Anyone with a basic computer science degree can press run on your scripts. You have 15 minutes to pack your personal belongings. Security will escort you out." The HR director looked down in shame, but Julian just smirked. They thought they were disposing of a nobody. They had no idea what they'd just done. I walked out of that boardroom with my chin held high, but inside, my mind was racing back to 3 years ago. Our core platform had suffered a devastating server blackout. The crash nearly wiped out millions in pending transactions and almost bankrupted the firm. That nightmare kept me up for 48 straight hours. To make sure it could never happen again, I single-handedly coded an automated fail-safe system from scratch. I called it the Safe Mode Protocol. Safe Mode wasn't a virus, and it wasn't malicious code. It was a high-level security defense system designed to protect shareholder assets. If the primary administrative credentials, the master digital clearance, were suddenly revoked or modified without following the strict, multi-step handover protocol, the system would assume a malicious breach or unauthorized takeover was occurring. When triggered, Safe Mode would instantly freeze all outgoing transactions, lock client databases into read-only mode, and safely pause every automated trading algorithm. It required an active, verified heartbeat signal from the primary architect's admin account to prove the system was under authorized supervision. My account was that heartbeat. Julian's blind arrogance was his undoing. In his desperate rush to assert power and humiliatingly kick me out of the building, he completely skipped standard offboarding procedures. He didn't consult the chief technical officer, nor did he review the system dependency logs. He simply ordered IT to revoke my building access badge and terminate my employee ID the moment I crossed the lobby threshold. As I packed my small cardboard box, I looked around at my oblivious coworkers. I handed my physical keycard to the waiting security officer with a polite, calm smile. I walked out to my car, placed my box in the passenger seat, and set a silent 2-hour timer on my phone. Julian thought he had stripped me of my power. In reality, he had just started a countdown. I pulled into the parking lot of a cozy coffee shop directly across the street from Apex Prime's glass tower. Ordering a hot chamomile tea, I sat by the window and kept my eyes fixed on the sleek 15th floor windows. Exactly 2 hours after my termination, the silent timer on my phone began to vibrate. Across the back-end server network, the automated system ran its routine security check. It pinged my primary administrative account looking for the active heartbeat signal. But my account had been abruptly deleted by IT on Julian's orders. Finding no authorized administrator present and no valid handover clearance logged, the system interpreted the sudden credential removal as a high-level cyberattack. The safe mode protocol activated instantly. From my seat at the cafe, I watched the building opposite descend into immediate, unadulterated chaos. High-frequency trading algorithms came to a screeching halt. Multi-million-dollar wire transfers froze mid-execution. Across every department, sleek dual-monitor setups flashed from vibrant financial charts to dark, ominous screens displaying a single message: system locked, safe mode engaged, authorized architect handover required. I could literally see people running through the glass corridors, waving their arms in utter panic. Apex Prime was losing tens of thousands of dollars for every second the platform remained locked in read-only status. 15 minutes later, my personal cell phone began to ring on the wooden tabletop. The caller ID displayed the main corporate line from Julian's office. I took a slow sip of my tea, let it ring 4 full times, and then calmly answered the call. "Maya speaking," I said, my voice as calm as a quiet morning. "Maya, what the hell did you do to our servers?" Julian's voice screamed through the speaker, so loud and panicked that the person at the next table turned to look. "The entire platform is down. Traders are losing their minds, and clients are threatening to sue. Fix this glitch right now, or I swear I'll have legal drag you into court." I took a slow, deliberate breath, leaning back in my leather chair. "Julian, as you explicitly reminded me 2 hours ago, I am no longer an employee. I was labeled a legacy burden and escorted out. Touching your systems without an active contract would be a federal crime." "This isn't a game," he shrieked, his composure completely shattered. "You sabotaged us." "I didn't sabotage anything," I replied softly. "Your system is operating under standard security protocols. You abruptly revoked master administrative credentials without following proper offboarding handovers. The platform assumed a hostile breach occurred and locked down to protect shareholder assets. It's not a glitch, Julian. It's working exactly as designed." Before Julian could scream again, a deep, commanding voice took over the line. It was Arthur Vance, the chief executive officer and chairman of the board. "Maya, this is Arthur," he said, his tone dripping with controlled desperation. "Julian is off the line now. We are losing nearly $2 million every 10 minutes this system remains frozen. Our international partners are panicking. I don't care what transpired earlier today. I am personally asking you to come back across the street to the boardroom right now. Name your terms, but please help us save this company." "I'll be there in 5 minutes, Arthur," I said and hung up. I walked back through the revolving doors of Apex Prime, not as a disgraced, fired employee, but as the only person who held the keys to their survival. When I entered the 15th floor boardroom, the atmosphere was suffocating. Every member of the board of directors was present, their faces pale, staring at dark red screens. Julian stood in the corner, sweating through his expensive tailored suit, frantically trying to type commands into a laptop that repeatedly rejected his access. "Maya, thank God," Arthur Vance said, standing up immediately. "Tell us what happened." I calmly pulled a sleek silver flash drive from my purse, plugged it into the central display monitor, and brought up the system's automated activity log. At 10:15 a.m., Julian executed a summary termination of the primary systems architect without executing the mandatory system continuity protocol, I explained, turning to face the board. The platform's core architecture was designed 3 years ago to prevent unauthorized executive overrides or external cyber threats. When Julian abruptly wiped my administrative profile, the system flagged a high-level breach and automatically initiated safe mode. "She's lying. She planted a virus," Julian yelled, pointing an unstable finger at me. "She sabotaged the company on her way out." "Julian, sit down and shut up," Arthur snapped, his voice like iron. He turned back to me. "Maya, is our data safe?" "Every dollar and every record is completely secure," I replied calmly. "Safe mode didn't destroy anything. It protected everything. But it froze the entire system into read-only status because your new executive vice president failed to perform basic due diligence before firing the person holding the primary security clearance. The board members turned to glare at Julian with pure venom. The realization hit them all at once. This multi-million-dollar disaster wasn't a technical glitch or sabotage. It was the direct result of Julian's staggering incompetence and personal ego. Arthur Vance took a deep breath, rubbed his temples, and looked at me with immense exhaustion. "Maya," he said quietly, "what does it take to turn the platform back on?" "First," I replied, pulling a printed document out of my folder and placing it on the table, "I am no longer an employee. To restore your infrastructure, you will retain my independent consulting firm under an immediate emergency contract. My fee is a flat $250,000 retainer, plus an hourly rate 5 times my previous salary. Furthermore, my firm will hold exclusive oversight over all system architecture changes moving forward." The board members didn't even hesitate. "Done," Arthur said, signing the contract on the spot and handing it back to me. "Now, please." "There is one more thing," I said, looking over at Julian. "I cannot operate in an environment with individuals who compromise company security for personal vanity." Arthur turned to security. "Escort Mr. Julian out of the building immediately. Collect his badge and escort him to the lobby." Julian stood frozen, his mouth open, as 2 imposing security guards took him by the arms. The entire room watched in silence as he was marched out along the exact same humiliating exit path he had forced me to take just 3 hours earlier. Once the doors closed, I walked over to the main terminal, plugged in my encrypted hardware key, and typed in my master override sequence. Across the room, the screens instantly flashed from deep red back to brilliant blue. Millions of transactions resumed processing, trading algorithms sprang back to life, and a wave of audible relief washed over the entire office. I had walked in as a discarded employee and walked out as the most powerful contractor the firm had ever hired. 6 months have passed since that crazy afternoon, and my life has completely transformed. Today, I run my own thriving independent technology consultancy firm. Apex Prime remains my largest client, paying me a hefty monthly retainer just to ensure their back-end architecture runs smoothly and securely. They never call me legacy anymore. Now, they refer to me as an indispensable asset. As for Julian, I heard he was forced to relocate after his reputation as a liability spread throughout the industry. Standing up to corporate bullies isn't easy, especially when they try to make you feel powerless, small, or easily replaced. But if there's one lesson I learned from this journey, it's that real power doesn't come from a fancy title or a loud voice in a boardroom. It comes from the quiet, irreplaceable value you bring every single day. If you've ever dealt with an arrogant boss or been underestimated at your job, leave a comment below and tell me your story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the video on your screen for another unbelievable workplace story.